So we were, I was thinking, yesterday there were, big personalities. I mean, you're a big personality. Reba's obviously a big personality. But it was so wonderful to me that nobody got lost. Mary Berger was equally as powerful yesterday. Margaret Dickens was equally as powerful. Reba's mother, it was,
yes.
Everybody was on an equal playing field. Did
yes.
you feel that?
Well, yes, and for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I had created. You remember the blue? I had created a gift and wrote a personal letter. For each and every one of the inductees, and Margaret, they were so gracious.
Yeah.
They were gracious, and I don't, the very last thing I ever wanted to do was to upset. Well, of course, I want to upset the apple cart, because if we don't evolve and we don't transform. And, but not in a way that was like, oh, props to you and all this.
No.
It's not about that. But I think that each and every person, I loved Margaret's, because she was like, oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
And I said to her, Margaret, that's what makes you so beautiful.
Right, absolutely.
If people are perfect, it's quite boring.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But, Anne was so gracious, and, and their accomplishments. I mean, my mom's younger sister, Helene, my aunt, had crossed the rainbow just 2 months past of MS. And so my letter to her was just, each was very personal. And watching Mary Berger, her videos, just, mesmerizing.
Yeah.
So I think everyone was received with such, you guys just really, it's just such an honor.
Oh, well.
Such an honor, because you really put in great effort, and it shows. Even Douglas was saying that the food, he said that was one of the best pieces of steak that he's ever had.
That's great. Well, I think we've talked about this before. I mean, I think, and you've experienced it now with working with Bethany and everybody here, but it's really, I think what makes it work from our end is that nobody here has a job. I mean, it's everybody is so passionate about being able to work with you, and you're on these honorees, and so wanting to make it so wonderful and special,
That's why you all are not aging.
Yeah,
I'm not joking. You laugh, but when one does what they love to do in life, it heals the world. It really does.
Absolutely.
And persons who just sort of take, they're like, oh, I have to go to work today. It's really, and it takes courage to do it, because sometimes, sometimes you have to tighten your belt a bit and what have you. But that's why everyone here, the vibration here is so high. Pat. It's just, that's why, you heard Douglas say, we can't wait to be back here next year. I'm already going through in my mind, well, I'll be working on a lot of sculpture next year.
Oh, really?
I'm already going on in my mind, how can I torture Pat to get, to get something in there that will, help people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about how, I think everybody was, so blown away about your decision to make sure that everybody got a gift. Why was that so important to you?
Because if I am honored, I have to honor. No, it's not that I have to. It's that I am wired in such a way that even the first sale of, in those early years of a painting, I gave nearly half to help others. And I am wired in such a way that if someone is saying to me, I honor you, then I say, I honor you as well, because we are equals here. I am not celebrity. I am not bigger than anyone else, because we all have an extraordinary story. Hence, the gifts for everyone, to make everyone feel as though they got an award.
And where do you think that comes from? In your wiring, where does that come from? When did it start? When did you first recognize it, do you think?
Very, very young. I mean, I know why I was put here in this world. I have a pure heart. I also have hair in my face, sorry.
There you go, okay.
And I can say that very directly because ever since I was a child, you know, when the leaves on the trees, when the breezes kiss the leaves and they wave, I would always wave back, you know, and recognizing that pure soul in them, just like we recognize, you know, the purity in animals, birds, the suns, the moons, you know, for me, orbs, you know, and you know, if someone has very negative energy, I will turn my heart from them and still speak with them. But I don't have, you know, our time here is so short. So ever since a very young age, I have known that I am here to make known the unknown. I am here to love you. And even in this conversation, I know that we love one another as warrior sisters. And even Colton here, you know, has great love in this room. And as you were saying earlier, this is not a place of work. This is a place where Emmylou and Bethany Three Trees and Dr. Diana and Deborah McSay, and you know, you all come here, and the vibration here is so high that each and every day that you show up here, you are healing the world. It's the butterfly effect, you know?
How did this, how difficult though, Ashley, having that pure heart and that incredible sensitivity, how difficult did it make your childhood?
I don't have very many friends.
You have a whole bunch of new ones
I
now.
have new ones now. I think it is, as we were speaking earlier, it's like I am ready.
Yes.
Because, you know, because the vibration is like attracts like. And so now it's not as difficult because there's less judgment. But as a child, you know, actually there are two crippling things I feel in this world, and one is fear, and the other is jealousy, and most human entities will look upon one another, and we can't help it. We all do it. You know, it's an addiction of sorts. When we size someone up, you know, many persons will look upon me and say, "Oh, she must be some little rich girl," you know, that really this was handed to her on some platter or whatever. But I think growing up, I had there was jealousy in my siblings. I have two siblings, and also there was, you know, I respect all religions. I have great, you know, but when one takes something so far as to say, I know the truth and you don't, it's like, I will respect your truth. But when you put that on me and tell me that heaven is somewhere outside and hell is where I'm going, because I don't believe the way you do, or think the way you do, rather. But these were things growing up that made it very, very difficult, because heaven is right now. Heaven is right here. and from a very young age, you know, I was saying all the wrong things. Because I'm like, the truth is, you can't find the truth in something you read.
Right.
Truth is found in your experience. And that's why when you travel or when you meet, you know, persons, you know, some that you collide with and they teach you a lesson that might be quite painful at the moment, but it gives you wisdom if you're a warrior like you are, you know. But it was not easy. It's still not a lot of times, because a lot of people, they want things that I have no interest in, and I think that they misconstrue, like, you know. And I'm sure perhaps there were some entities even last night that maybe were who does she think she is sort of thought process. You know, kind of thing, because, you know, why is she doing this wow thing? I had no idea about the gifts that Izumi, the Keito. I mean, arigato gozaimasu. That was such an amazing gift. You know, I've known him for many, many years, and, you know, but I think most persons here, and this is my speaking upon, you know, the group that is here in Texas, and in especially involved with what you have created, are vibrating very high. And I think that they were able to receive a message of transformation, that I am worthy of a crown.
Oh,
perhaps
absolutely.
I have forgotten this, but I must put it back on, because I have the power to heal to a single act of kindness.
And how brave of you. I mean, how brave of you to do it, and to know that that's the way you needed to speak, and that's how you needed to accept it. It was very brave.
Really? Why?
It was very brave. I think it was brave because it was a lot of work, you know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot of work.
I was joking with Colt. I was telling him that it was like, you know, the bank accounts might be a little soft at the moment, because, you know, I mean, like this entire room, if you can imagine, floor to ceiling, you know, and packing each bag, you know, hand by hand, and writing each letter, you know.
Yeah.
But you gave me such an opportunity, and that was brave upon you, because change, most persons don't like change, even though in these moments that we are sharing right now, we are transforming one another.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are constantly changing, and yet in some part of the mental noise, as it were, there's this fear of change.
Yeah. I mean, and I said to Douglas, and I was saying to the staff yesterday, I think it's all about, I mean, to me, it's all about, and I think we all here at the staff, we're very capable of relaxing once you get to the point where you accept the other person's authenticity.
Exactly.
You know? And that's what you were being, was totally authentic. And then it's okay, you know? If you work from that place of authenticity, then it's going to be okay.
And
it's
you know that.
Yeah, and you know that. And you know that. It's just trying to force it that, you know, that doesn't work.
Do you feel that there have been some persons that have been sort of inauthentic?
No, I don't think.
In your programs, you know, throughout the years, or?
I really don't. No, I don't. I don't think that, you know, I think that there's, I think they're always authentic, because I think that's who these women are. But you know, but it's always been sort of us recognizing, but no, we've never had anybody before whose authenticity forced all of us to go out of our box. So it was great. It was great for all of us.
Thank you so much.
No,
I know, because I remember being around that table.
Yeah.
And I remember some persons were like, what?
Yeah.
You know, what?
We've never done
What are you speaking upon here? You
Yeah.
know, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate this because, and that's what puts a lot of persons off.
Yeah.
I mean, in the early years, especially.
Yeah.
You know, like as it said in the video, and as well as you know, because we've spoken. I mean,
Yeah.
I've known you for forever now.
For
I mean,
lifetimes.
yeah, and my warrior sister forever now. But you know, in the early years, being, you know, having to learn through the hard way because you know, I turn my heart, but that took a lot of very difficult lessons, and I realized what the word naivete meant, you know, because I thought everyone was pure of heart, and this is not the case.
No. How did you get to LA? Why LA?
Because it was closer than New York.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was born in Northern California. We moved quite a bit. My pop, as you know, my pop was born in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and shared a spigot with 17 other persons. I don't know, they said 11, but I think Douglas got that number wrong. I mean, literally, and working in the textile mills as a child laborer. I mean, and his parents picking cotton, and my mom from North Carolina. So they, you know, met in Schenectady, and they went west. And so we moved around quite a bit. Which for me was fine because there was trees and I would just make friends. I would tape paper feathers to my arms and make little big climb trees and talk to the birds like you and I are speaking right now, you know. But why Los Angeles? Because it was the close. I mean, the art world, I'll never understand it. But I knew I knew. You know how sometimes we create our lives. I was put here, and I knew what I knew from. I mean, my papa now says, you know, that from age 3, I knew what I was supposed to do. I mean, I was drawing on butcher paper rolls from end to end, and they thought something was very wrong with me. Fear. My elder sister was very, very abusive, jealousy, you know. But and God loved them all, and if I hold anger in my heart, it only hurts me. So I love all of them. That I am not spending this day of thanks with them. But Los Angeles, I guess that's a simple answer. It was the closest place where I thought at that point in time in the late 80s, you know, there was New York was basically the art capital.
Right.
And Los Angeles was, you know, it was either bi-coastal, you know, and lo and behold, you know, there are just treasures like here in Fort Worth, you know, and this museum has been around forever.
Yeah.
But that's why, basically, it was, I had to find work, waiting tables or whatever it was, and to pay for a studio that was probably the size from there to there, and live in it and pay for painting material.
What was the contemporary art world like then, Ashley, in the 80s?
God, you know, the art world is always going to be a mystery to me. It really is. But my personal experience was is where I got a lot of really great lessons. It was primarily male dominated because there was a boys' club, you know, in the Venice Beach area, you know, because I was smart enough to stay on the west side, because going east of Los Angeles. It was just, I mean, scary as all get out. I mean, and even in Venice Beach, you know, it was just, you know, you would hear the helicopters going overhead, and to this day I'm very frightened when I hear the sound of that because of the gang wars, whatever. But the art world was, at that time, it was as if you know, these men would look upon me, again, you know, with that judgment sort of thing. And even if I was the, you know, number one money maker, you know, they would still say, oh, Collins, we must have a meeting. I have this special room underneath the stairway. And, you know, and of course there'd be a bed in there.
Right.
And so it was ugly. I have to say, it was very, but again, it made me stronger.
Right.
But these, you know, because I've always been quite small, and these men would I ended up in hospital quite a few times. I mean, it was really not an easy road, I have to say. But anything that is worth doing, just like all the battles you have fought to get the Cowgirl Museum to the echelon that it is. I always said to peoples, I said, I am skipping to the Cowgirl, the National Cowgirl Museum, Guggenheim. You know, because that is the way I perceive this is an extraordinary place. And knowing, you know, knowing that each of my children's, I call my paintings my children's, and because I didn't have a chance to have any human children's for obvious reasons, but I would stand beside them and say, this is genius.
Yeah.
And if you don't see it, then I can't help you. And the genius in each and every one of them was that though these men would try to, you know, I don't know how to describe it because I don't understand it. I don't believe I will ever understand why someone hurts another person, why someone wants to really destroy another person. I cannot, you know, I've got fear and jealousy going on, you know, but I am more interested in the solution, I suppose. Am I answering what you're speaking?
You're perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
because Douglas says to me, he's like, you know what, Ashley, don't go on this like sort of proselytizing, you know, idiocy thing, because you have a tendency to just like blah, blah, blah.
No, I will let you know if you're doing blah, blah. No.
Okay, we really have a code word or something like Naugahyde. You know, just you know, just shut the hell up. You know,
I will tell you, I probably would just say shut the hell up, Ashley. So why?
Thank you very much.
Here's something that's really I'm fascinated by, and I'm just sort of talking to you and asking you things that I'm really
good, because I
by.
feel like this is not really, you know, I mean, this is like actually so much fun, and I have to say I'm most grateful for you to come in the day before a day of thanks to make the time to do this, and I thank Colton too.
I've been looking forward to this.
You know,
so tell me why, because it is so unusual. Why the large scale, and how did you? Have you ever done anything small?
Well, I had to do things that were small. I mean, in the studios that I, you know, first had, I would take a tape measure, you know, and I would measure one corner to the other, and I would say, okay, this is how big I can go.
Right.
At least height-wise.
Right.
And in some of the beginning studios, I'd work on paintings that would end up being, 8 feet. Generally, a door is about 8 feet or 10 feet. But they would end up being like 10 feet by 20 feet, 30 feet long. But I'd work on one at a time, and somehow they would come together. I'll show you some photographs. But I have done small scale things. I always have paper. Oh, my bag is over there. But I'm always writing and sketching. And in those days, there were smaller things that were sketches. And and today, I'll sketch something, but scale. How big is what is it? Though she was but small, she was fierce. Or though he was but small, he was fierce. And there is something about scale that is quite humbling. And when you in California, one of the places that is very interesting to visit is where the sequoias are and where the redwood trees are, because the redwood trees are so tall that you can't even imagine, and the sequoias so wide that it's just like, and you feel, especially from trees. I am so honored because my name means tree, and I have a great affection for these ancient trees. And the energy is the love of God in them. And perhaps, it was them, or perhaps, in 1996, I came out with something that no artist has ever done before, and that was a gigantic portrait of a horse head, and there were 6 in the grouping, and I wanted to exhibit them all together. Because walking among these gigantic and beautiful, stunning horse head, they had the aged paper, so they and the resin, fired upon them, and so they had that gold beauty. But walking among them, these gigantic faces, and in the art worlds, they say, well, everything has already been done before, and but this was a new, and of course, but the museums or the galleries were like, oh, it's a little blonde girl painting horses, they wouldn't take it seriously. But when you walked through them, you not only felt the love of God, but you felt your own power. Because love without power is like, I love this thing, I love this chair, I love those shoes. I actually really do love those shoes. I love my boots, and I love my talismans. But power behind love is so awesome, and it is great. If you have ever been to a glacier and walked upon it and heard it creaking and we were just in Patagonia scoping out for Project 10. And life is just enormous, and the bigger the better, because I guess I just feel that love is so gigantic, and the world's need it more than anything in this time, because there's too much, I feel like there's too much protesting. There's too much, you know, non-acceptance. There's too much me, instead of the big picture. Again, the big picture. Nobody says, what's the small picture in your life? You know, it's like, what is the big picture?
Tell me about Project 10.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. As Project 10 is, it came to me through doing, I was doing countless drawings blindfolded. Suddenly in my studio in Narnia, I was putting, you know, good size page after page after page after page, laid them all out on the floor. You know, like when suddenly you're just doing something and you don't know why. And there's no thought. That is the moment when you are truly creating. You forget if you're hungry, if you have to use the loo, if, you know, and time, you go beyond time. So day in and day out, and I have still done this, you know, I had blindfolds on, and I would go from one page to the next, drawing the face of a horse, blindfolded. And then I started drawing them bigger, blindfolded. And then I went outside and took sand. And it's sand mixed with like a charcoal, sort of, it helps things to grow. It's like a sort of a fertilizer thing, you know? And I started throwing it so that it was, so that it started, you know, blindfold the entire time. And then Project 10 came to mind because that was sort of, began in, the blindfold drawings began, I think, I want to say late 2014, early 2015. So there are thousands of these blindfold drawings, and eventually in the Nomadic Museum, they will be displayed and some available for purchase because they are absolutely remarkable, you know, because of the imperfection, you know, that it's just, you know, one eyeball's over here and then some of them come together like beautifully. So I said to Douglas, I said, you know what? I want to bring the worlds together because this disparity, this I am different from you, it's tearing us apart. And this was before all this madness has started. And so I said, I want to do them gigantic. So we began practicing on a neighbor's full-size, like Olympic arena with drones. And so on every continent, well, on the glacier, the size of it will not be the size of a football pitch. I mean, we call it a football field. But the size of the one that was, say, in the video, that one we did in the desert in California. And it was the first one, and it was the size of about 2 football pitches, I think. But, you know, Douglas, thank God for him, because, you know, all these things cost money. So, you know, he's trying to figure out a way, okay, all right, if we make this a nomadic museum, then we actually have things to sell so we can pay for this. Because I am coming up with these ideas, and he's like, how, you know. But for me, it's to create something that is temporary, that may, like that one in the desert lasted, I think, when we went out to see her again, maybe 4 or 5 days later, she was gone, most of her. But things were starting to grow, which is good.
It is so, it's, you know, you're the only other person I've ever come across who has that mentality of the Tibetans with their sand paintings, you know, their sand
Yes.
mandalas. Yeah, Mandalas, yeah. It's the
Those are
same.
those are incredible,
Those
aren't
are
they?
incredible, but it's the same.
Extraordinary.
I mean, you've I've had the extraordinary opportunity to watch the monks create them, and they're so intricate and so amazing, and the only goal is to complete it and then to take their hand and to make it disappear. It's and which is
Isn't that astonishing?
yeah, it is, yeah, and to have the willingness as an artist to be able to create something that then is, and to understand that that's all part of it too. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, because, what is beauty?
Yeah.
What is, it's, we are here for a brief moment. And they get that so amazing. I mean, I cannot wait to have that experience to actually see. I want to ask you so many more questions upon this. But but yes, that's the idea, is that, we are all here together and we are all equal, Yeah, there are some persons that are, I have to say, that are evil, but most persons, they have the capability to rise to the occasion and to realize that being small doesn't work. That's why, if I was to say a speech or what have you last night, it was what I said at the table, which is simply this: each and every one of us can change one life, 2 lives, 3 lives, and in so doing, heal the worlds. I am no more and no less valuable than any of God's creatures. And if I can be a voice for the unheard, let that voice roar upon the wing of a single butterfly. If a simple painter can help heal the worlds, think of what you, through single act of kindness, have the power to do. That is the underlying theme of 10. That is the underlying theme of every child that I work endlessly on, And, though it may be an uphill battle, I am now getting, as you say, a new warrior family that is really doing the work, because it's easy to go home and turn on the telly and kind of check out and get up and do the same thing. But we are alchemists. We are here.
I think that's very interesting too, because it's something that really unites you with these other women in the museum. The understanding that you're responsible for others, and you have to, as we always talk about this woman, Connie Reeves, who was inducted, and she said, saddle your own horse, I still do. And that's really what it is, be responsible for you and the animals and everybody around you.
And take responsibility.
And take responsibility.
Yes.
And that's a real important lesson in today's world. It's so fascinating to me too with you, because when one...
I just want to give you a hug right now.
Well, you can give me a hug right now.
I just do.
Okay.
I just adore you.
Because you just put in so much effort and talk about authenticity, Pat. I don't mean to interrupt the interview or whatever, but I just love you to pieces. I really do,
because you know what?
It's mutual.
You have worked so bloody hard, and I can see it and I can feel it. Here you are asking, all these persons, and if I had someone to nominate to be an inductee, it would be you by far and away. No, I'm not joking, because it's like to be so selfless, because we all have a story.
Yeah.
And each and every one of our stories must be heard in whatever way shape, form.
Yeah.
And your story is so beautiful. I have 1,000 questions, but I will come and torture you later.
Okay, we'll torture
but
me
I
later.
just wanted to give you a hug
Well,
because,
thank you.
you talk about authenticity, and you probably would have done this 1,000 times with inductees and all this, but you know what? Your story, I can see it. You have been through it. You have been through the ringer. You have been, you have just, I see auras. I don't want to get all weird or what have you, and I see orbs. And your aura is just so beautiful because I just see it, and your beloveds as well. The love that ricochets between you. So I just want to express my gratitude because
thank you.
here you are, asking questions, and I have so many questions to, for you.
Well, the next time we're together, we'll turn the tables and you can ask me.
Good. Are you in for it? Cool tunes? All right, good.
Ashley can do my oral
That's
history.
a promise.
It's
That's
a
a pinky
promise.
swear.
A pinky swear. You
Okay.
can do my oral history. Okay, so tell me, let's see, tell me about, I've rarely, and you spoke about my beloved and my, the obvious partnership there. I've rarely seen a more beautiful partnership than with you and Douglas. So
Yes.
tell me how that all came about and what Douglas allows you to do and who he allows you to be.
I thank you so much for bringing him into the picture. He was livid that I said, I think my beloved. I said there was 4 words.
Exactly.
But he and I met when we were in our 20s.
Uh-huh.
I was probably 20 and he was 25. And at that time, I was, I believe I had a gallery. I was going under, a male guise, sort of, and he had probably come in with some girlfriend or something. And he'll hate this, but I don't remember meeting him. But he remembered meeting me. But because when you are physically hungry, when you physically don't have a bed to sleep in, you're sleeping on the floor and you're eating peas and ketchup. I mean, last thing you're going to be looking for is a boyfriend, So life is like this. I was 38 clock time. I mean, I say clock time because it's all in here. 38 clock time years. He was about 44, I guess, suppose, whatever. And somehow there was a mutual friend between us. His name was Fritz and his wife Christina. And I had created a painting of a dog named Louie for a friend because she loved this dog so much. And it was 3 feet by 3 feet, so it was rather small. But so she was friends with Fritz and Christina, and so we're sitting there waiting for her. She's an actress, and so you know how the celebrityism goes. She must have her entourage coming in. So we were just waiting. I mean, I adore her, but it's just the way of the world, I guess. But so Fritz starts speaking to me while we are waiting. He said, "I hope you don't mind, but I invited a good friend of mine." And after he finished describing Douglas to me, by ending up and he kind of looks like Russell Crowe in Gladiator or what have you. I was livid. I said, "Fritz," because at first I was like, "Oh, any friend of yours is a friend of mine, no worries, But I was like, "Fritz, damn it, why are you doing this?" Because I had completely given up. I had been married for a nanosecond, and when I was 29 or 30, simply because this fellow had a house and I was tired of living on the street. You know, it's just like, and you know, and he was quite awful. So, you know, and even Douglas was married around, you know, when he was around the same age, and that didn't work out. So there was no human children's or whatever. And I was livid because my last boyfriend had like swiped out my entire bank account and had started, you know, copying me with paintings and what have you. But Douglas, he was actually at a dinner with Dick Cheney and some other persons. Dick Cheney, by the way, he describes as extraordinarily brilliant and absolutely frightful because he's like, he just thinks the world is going to end and explode or whatever. But I felt Douglas's energy come into that restaurant. I saw him before, and he came running in. And in that moment, I had no doubt, and neither did he. And what could be, if you were to speak different, what could be more different than one of the top attorneys in Los Angeles and a simple painter whose wardrobe was basically, you know, studio jeans and some boots and what they call wife beaters, you know, and one thrift shop dress, you know. But we were just like this, and you know, and he was unhappy, and I said to him, I said, you know, you have this life. You're unhappy, and why he was unhappy was because everyone is suing everyone, you know, you know, and he is a self-made person as well, paid for as an education. He's brilliant, you know, a great, extraordinary musician. He'll kill me for telling you this, but you know, I went away. This was in 2004, and I went away on to spend New Year's with one of my great teachers. You know, like he's like I'm a seeker. You know, and when I came back, he had a house in Topanga Canyon. You know, he had the house, the cars, and all this kind. But he had cleared out half the closet, and every piece of clothing that I have I have this day is because of him. You know, I had none of that whatever. And his last girlfriend had tried to burn his house down because she was, you know, the big, the lips and the, you know, the Hollywood whatever. And he was through dating, but he still came because he remembered me. He remembered, because he said to Fritz, he said, an artist, are you joking? That's the last thing I want. I just, you know what, if it's an accountant young lady, I don't even care what she looks. I mean, he was done too. But when he saw that it was me, I mean, this is what he said to me, he came and he quit. He quit everything and sold his cars, sold all the stuff. And as I freed him, I did not realize that he was freeing me because I had been in a studio from my late teens all through my 20s and deep into my 30s. Because all those experiences, I was like the child in the tree. As long as I was in the studio, then I didn't have to feel the pain of not understanding peoples. And he said, where do you want to go now? And he pulled me out of that studio, and I said, Spain. Don't know why I said Spain, but I love the Andalusian. I don't know, you know, and so thus began traveling around the world, and thus my eyes opening ever wider to the needs of and how can I help. So we feed one another, and you know, talk about something on a grand scale. There are no coincidences. And the fact that he showed up, you know, and that very night came to the studio, my womb, as it were, you know, suddenly everyone was gone, and it was just him and I speaking. And I knew he had a date the next night. And I did. It was a Friday night, and I knew he had a date the next night. But it did not bother me. There was like a calm, kind of like last night. There was just this centeredness of, yes.
One of the all-time great stories.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
A love story is
It's
just
a great love story.
yes.
And a great partnership.
Yes, and he was
Yeah.
quite afraid, you know, because without him now,
Yeah.
the studio would not exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't like it when I say this, but it's very, very true. Because there have been people that are, I mean, even at that time, there were these two very wicked persons that were trying to destroy me. And they were taking paintings, and because I signed a piece of paper, which I'll never do again, you know. I mean, I'm like, if you can take my word for it, then I will work with you. If you don't, then I have no business. I know that there's all this contractual things these days. But he came in, and this was like a 4-year battle, because I was starting to starve again. I was having to beg these fellows that were selling these paintings. And Douglas came in, and he just solved it right there. And without him, he has transformed. You know, he has transformed me, and I have transformed him, just like, you know. And his heart is, you know, he's just a different person now. And without, I mean, I am so eternally grateful to him, because I have these crazy ideas, and he makes them manifest into reality.
Wow. What an amazing gift. Amazing gift. Ashley, do you have any formal art training? Did you ever go to art school as
No.
it is? No? No? All just natural, self-taught. Amazing. Amazing. Did you ever have any interest in going to school, into art school? Did you think of, oh, if I could only go and study with someone, it would be different, or it just was so organic that it was never even a thought?
Well, my papa was very, very adamant about education. So I have an education, and then after going through that, there was a horrific rape trial. And I had not seen him and my parents for a very long time, because he said, if you're going to, you know, this was the pep talk.
Yeah.
He said, if you're going to go to Los Angeles to become a painter, then you're going to end up homeless and penniless, and, you know, woohoo, you know, and that's exactly what happened for a long time, you know. But he did show up in the courtroom, you know, and it was in the papers and everything. And I said to them, I said, what are you doing here? Because when you're going through a trial like that, they are telling the jury that this is a drug addict, a sex addict, a alcoholic, you know, she set this person's up and whatever, you know. And I said, I need to focus and answer these very difficult questions.
Right.
And you showed up here at a time of my lowest, you know. And so they went home. And, you know, there have been several persons who have said to me, you're joking. At least they didn't, you know, stay by. But you know what? Once again, parents do the best they can with what they have. And if you cannot have compassion for your parents, again, it's coming back to taking responsibility. Oh, it's my parents' fault. Oh, it's the government's fault. Oh, it's their fault, you know. Oh, it's because I'm black or white or what, you know what I mean? You know, so they were doing the very best they could, but he insisted on helping. He said, I understand now, you know, because it had been I don't know, 8 years or something, that you're going to stick with this ridiculous idea. So he said, okay, you know, because I had my undergraduate, and my undergraduate was in English, but I completed that in 2 years, and the second 2 years took off on this program with another school, and went around the world, you know, went to Israel, went to, you know, basically besides Israel, up into Europe and all and while the rest of the kids are like, you know, drinking pot, I went to every museum. You know, in Amsterdam, they wanted to see the red light.
Right.
I went to see the Van Gogh, and I was home. You know, I was home, and I had to create a major of English because my papa would not, you know, he wouldn't not. He was like, what will you do with art? You know. And then I understand it. If you're growing up with nothing and picking cotton, and what a warrior he is, whereas all his contemporaries were hoping to be bagging groceries, he got himself into Georgia Tech, the United States Air Force, and graduated top of his class at Harvard Business School. And he became a money manager and very successful, you know? So perhaps some of that, you know, breaking the mold came from him, you know. I still don't understand their language. Once again, Douglas is the bridge, you know. But, you know, I mean, you know, I don't even remember that. I'm so sorry.
Yep.
The question
was... The question was good. You answered the question exactly. So, but now, so tell me...
My brain is like just wired, so bizarre.
But it's going, you were also on track. But talk to me about Chief. Now that we've gotten through talking about Douglas, talk to me about Chief.
Chief. There are times in our lives where there is an angel. And whether that angel shows up as a sunset, a dog, a tree, or another person, whatever form that angel does take, if you're wide awake and you don't miss it, if you're perhaps in enough pain, you can't miss it. And perhaps if you're a child especially, you won't miss it. And I'm so fortunate. At you know, age 10, I was like I was already in this world of, I had tried to run away from home. I knew it was just, where do I belong? What am I, you know, really the whole crazy making thing was really kicking in. A girl named Carol Trelute said to me, and this was in Northern California, she comes up to me one day, and I am 11, just turned 11 years of age, and she says to me, Ashley, there is this horse that is up on the hill. He's an old roping horse that has ring bone, so an adult can't ride him, but you may want to write to the owner, and I live up in Canyon, so you know, I can give her the letter. And I sat down, I have the actual copy of this letter now that I wrote to this stranger, and it's hilarious because this letter says, hello, my name is Ashley Collins. I would like to be able to take exercise Chief, and I could use a tip on saddle, bridle, whatever. I can come on Mondays and Tuesdays, and maybe Saturday, and I can come on, and it ended up, I can come every day, every hour, you know. And then I posted a little photograph, you know, a school photograph, and drew a little drawing of a horse head. And you can you know, because the letter now is so old, it's got like the what was it called, liquid paper, you know, smashed all over it, you know, because you know, I was trying to do it in my best cursive, and lo and behold, my mom gets a call from a woman named Sally Woodmansey, and she said, I'm answering the letter your daughter sent to me, and I say yes, and my mom was livid, because and so but it was all right, because, you know, that's the way I she was like, okay, you're crazy, go ahead, whatever. But, you know, to their credit, they did, you know. This day and age, no one could do that. I was up on the hills in Northern California. Chief and I were the same age. He crossed the rainbow when we were 27. I couldn't get up there because at that time I did not have the money or, you know, the wherewithal to get up there. But he talked to me the way you and I are speaking right now. There's a language of the worlds in between the language of the worlds, just like we are the breath inside the breath. That is where we are. And he taught me this, and he taught me 1,000 other things. And I could not lift, you know, a gigantic Western saddle, you know. In the book, in the photograph, you see this little kid sitting on him, you know. He had a huge arse, so I could do my homework on him. And I would sleep on him, walk with him. And, you know, Seabiscuit, I've been in another life. Seabiscuit came out last night, just out of the blue, you know. And so we would, you know, we would run, and sometimes he would just suddenly stop, and I would just go circling over his head, flat on my back. Of course, when you're a kid, this can happen, and you're, you know, but hot tears would be streaming down my face, and I would feel this breath, this warm, beautiful breath, and I would hear him say, Ashley, this is life. Get back on. And never, 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 never give up. I cannot begin to tell you how I got through rest of middle school or high school. I would have friends drop me off at bottom of canyon. It was about a 7-mile hike. And then I would take an orange bucket and go and call to him, and most of the time just walk with him. He was, and still is, the inspiration for every single child that I have ever created. He embodied the love of God. And his Sally and her husband, Jack, took me in. They were kind of my foster parents at a time when my pop, something happened. There are so many secrets that I don't understand, even to this day, upon my biological family. And I have accepted that and just loved them, you know. But when Jack passed a year ago now, I received his papers and all the letters I had sent to them when I was trying in Los Angeles, when I was working in Los Angeles. And his real name, I found out, is Shaman. His registered name, he was in Appaloosa and a warrior, and there are angels still, but he, one of the greatest of all. I mean, Douglas, his name means river, and my name means tree, and he is an angel of the most extraordinary sort. And Shaman was the greatest teacher and loved unconditionally, and perhaps in a way that purity of heart, he helped that grow. And there were thousands upon thousands of lessons, and not all of them were very fun. Being thrown from a horse, it's like, that's not very fun, you know. But, you know, I just, you know, my every single painting has a bit of him, and that's why the paintings, you know, the imagery is of the horse, but the paintings are never of horses. It goes so much more beyond space and beyond time.
How long actually does it take you? I think you talked about it in the video yesterday, but how long does it take you to complete a painting?
Anywhere between a year and, I think the longest I've worked on a single work has been probably close to 10 years.
Wow.
But I work on many at one time, always in like different, you know, they are being born. So it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And one of the things that really pisses Douglas off is that he thinks there's this perfect painting, and he'll walk into the studio the next day and it will be completely covered. And he'll just live it, you know. But, you know, most of the paintings, if you were to x-ray them, have many paintings underneath, just like we have many chapters in our lives, you know? And it's really hard. Sometimes it's like, you know, a cat with a mouse. It's gonna like pull me away from the thing and say, leave her alone, you know? She's finished.
Is there an artist, a particular artist, that was an inspiration to you, or is it a group of artists, or?
Bob Rauschenberg.
Why?
Because he broke all the rules. He broke every rule. He was around the time of the, you know, he lived, I believe his studio was tiny. He lived upstairs from Mr. Johns, Jasper Johns. And he was a dear friend for, you know, you know, we collide and we align, and, you know, sometimes that alignment may, clock time, be but weeks, but in spiritual time, it is decades, thousands upon thousands, like us, you know, and he is the greatest inspiration, not only because of his kindness, but because at this time, you know, you know, to be gay was, you know, inappropriate, you know, so he sort of had like the female card going, you know, like, you know, but moreover than all that politic stuff, his work, you know, it just, like I said, that's where the assemblage comes from. You know, it's from him. I mean, no, he just put things together, historical things, a lot of things about Kennedy, and, you know, and even before I met him, you know, when I could not afford canvas, you know, I would drive downtown. I mean, I measured the back of every truck, and the 1996 Ford Bronco had the largest arse that I knew I could put in the largest panels that I could build, you know. But I would buy junk from the junkyards downtown Los Angeles by the pound. So in the early works, and even it's coming back, and even in 1,000 Kings, the warrior painting, you know, you see this chain coming down. Well, that chain coming down, there is a wheel, a wagon, like a metal wheel that has, what are the things called, the pump for fire, the air,
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
what
about.
is the word for it?
It goes like this.
Yes, it's the fan of fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, well, they have resin on them, and they create a crown at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, but of course, you know, to make this happen,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we didn't, you know, bring that
Yeah.
in addition, because it's not necessary. But there was a connection there. You know how you know that you are connected with an entity?
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet that entity, if you have the luxury of doing so,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you just say hello again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you know, he was at, you know, I found myself at one of his exhibitions, and Mr. Schnabel was there, and I don't even know how, I just ducked in, you know, and this was, you know, later, you know, before his crossing the rainbow, but he walked to me as if he had known me for 1,000 years. And the conversations and the moments we shared were beautiful because he saw in my work his own struggles, his own, you know, breaking new ground, you know? So besides that, I really am awful at art history. People will be like, so, you know, we were just at the museum the other day, and it's hilarious with Mary. And, you know, she knew, and Douglas knew more, you know, I mean, I know when I see an Ansel Keefe or what have you, but, you know, it's just, it's so funny to me because, you know, the museums oftentimes, you know, you can count, first of all, the women in the museums on one hand, if that. And the female, you know, top artist at the moment is always doing something like, you know, putting out beds with cigarettes and empty, you know, this stuff of the banal instead of the beautiful. Again, I honor you and this museum for everything I see here is that of born of beauty.
Bellows.
Thank you. Thank you. Bellows. So there's 3 bellows,
Yes.
or 4, you know, that make a crown.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I was to tell you though, and I don't, you know, I was just thinking, and it's, you've joined her as an honoree. You remind me so much of Georgia O'Keeffe. I mean,
Cough, cough, cough. Wow. Are you joking?
No, because it's the same story. I mean, I'm not out of the personal background, but she envisioned something for the first time in such a different way.
She did.
You know, and she was so brave to paint in the way that she did, but she had to do it. I mean, she saw it in such a way and was able to translate it. And it really is. Have you ever been to New Mexico or to?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It was
to Abiquiu, yeah.
It was in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah.
It was Arlene Llewellyn
Uh-huh.
who gave me my first exhibition.
Wow. Okay.
Santa Fe,
Yeah.
New Mexico. I kept driving out there in a U-Haul truck with my paintings, and she crossed the rainbow at age 60, so young. But she said that you know, I don't know why it was her, but I just zeroed in,
Yeah.
and I don't even know why Santa Fe, because
Yeah.
New Mexico is a very strange place. You know, I mean, it's energetically, it's just like all over the place.
Yeah.
But wow, you know, I know that Georgia O'Keeffe and Stieglitz, the photographer, you know,
Yep.
her early paintings were of New York, and that she, for her passion, because she loved Santa Fe, and he was in love with New York, and so she was very brave this way. But I must learn more upon her. But I am very floored.
No, you would
To even-
really, yeah, spend some time and learn, because you would really, you would get it. We had a great opportunity a few years ago. There's the O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe
Yes.
had been given a gift of all of her camping gear. You know, she used to go out into the desert and camp for weeks at a time and paint. And so they had been given this exhibition of her camping gear and her personal clothing that she wore, and her paintbrushes, and even some of the, you know, firewood that she had used. And didn't
Wow,
know-
you're joking.
No, and didn't know what to do with it. So we created an exhibition here of her personal things, plus the photographs.
When was this?
This was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Do
I'll
you-
give you the catalog.
Oh, good. Thank you. 'Cause I
And,
would love to see this.
And then the actual paintings that she painted there. But it was such a, but I'll give you the catalog, and because you have the same sort of breakthrough, seeing the world in such a different place and being brave enough to do it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, without action, what are we doing?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
But wow, what a compliment. I mean, I don't know how to, I mean, that's just, I mean, that's one of those, like, wow, you came out of left field with that
well,
one.
that was an easy compliment to make. Okay, so my last question is, there are...
That you love me and I love you.
Well, I know that
And this is, I'm the president and CEO of your fan club.
Oh my gosh, that's and doing my oral history, so that would be great. But there are, my dear, a lot of young women out there, a lot of young Ashley Collins out there in the world, and who are struggling. What do you say to them?
What do I say
What would you say to them? What would you say to the young girls out there who are struggling and are looking for the courage to express themselves, whether it's through art or barrel racing or whatever, and how to...
whatever medium it is.
Yeah.
What I would say to them, I mean, no matter what it is, like writing or painting or barrel racing or flying an airplane or being an astronaut or what have you, I would say to them what Shaman said to me: never, ever, ever give up. And don't look to the left or the right. Don't look for accolades. Don't look for fame, fortune. Find the battle that you are truly fighting. The true battle, which is get that confidence. Know what you are doing because it's there. Know it. Focus upon it. And no matter if you're young or old or weak or strong or whatever you perceive yourself to be, you are more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And if you do what you love and waver not, don't listen to the judgment, but also be present and be presence. And through that, the universe itself will rise up and help you achieve that which you are meant to do in this life. And in so doing, you will be a voice for the unheard, and you will feel the love of God that is within each and every one of us, and you will heal the world. Never give up. Don't live in entitlement, because in this young generation that you are in, your greatest temptation is to be and to feel entitled It's all around you. It's almost like an epidemic. So break free of that, because you are the future now. And if these young persons can really hold that in, I am the future now, and create that. I have always been the future now for as long as I can remember. You know, just like I have always been remarkably healthy for as long as I can remember. You are creating that. If these young persons could get away from the cupcake entitlement and really embrace the fact that they hold the future and that's what they are, I think that that would really awaken in them. I have this purpose. I know it's in here. Might I have to dig for it? Sure. Might I have to work for it? Yes. But this I shall do, because this is how important I am. My photographs, my writing, my dreams, I will make them manifest as reality, because no one else is going to do it for me. And I think that this would be what my answer would have been in that moment. I just could not, I see I see there's so many orbs in here, and they are helping me to understand, to translate. But we need these young persons to embrace the warrior in them.
But you know what I think that it just dawned on me that is something that you have, that every single other woman who's represented in this museum has in common. And I think, to me, and if you would speak about it, it's really the lesson that I wish that these young people could get, and that is getting back to nature.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Get off of the mechanical stuff, because it's killing us. You know? The this and this and this and this and this. Go climb a tree. And if you can't climb a tree, go touch a tree. Because, it's the issue with paintings that I was talking with Colton upon while you were speaking with Douglas. Paintings require a stillness. A stillness, and we live in a culture of da-da-da-da-da-da. Can you imagine being born in this culture? Where it's just like computer this, computer that, and all these games, and it's like even to talk to your friends, you're glued on this thing. It's like I will never ever ever allow paintings to become obsolete, because even in museums, even in this museum, but you guys have done it right, because you're telling a story, you're telling a historical story, and you have balance, and it's positive and it's powerful. But the message in getting to nature, that is enlightenment. That is knowledge. Every single one of us, Narnia is full of ancient oaks. And I go out there and put my hands on an oak, and I can even feel their energy now. If you can be still just for a moment, you'll begin to feel a warm energy coming through your body. And what that energy is sage poetry, ancient knowledge. And these kids if they could, I mean, that is such an extraordinary insight on your behalf. And I thank you for bringing it up, because it's like this. Instead of the cupcake me sort of entitlement, if these young persons could see truly that each and every person, each and every one of us, has been thrown under the bus, the proverbial bus. Each and every one of us has lost a loved one. Each and every one of us has been through extraordinary pain. Perhaps they would understand this, that to meet everything and everyone through compassion instead of mental noise is the greatest gift that they can give to the world. It is a jewel with many facets. It is also joy, and it is love, powerful love. But they are the future now, and perhaps it wouldn't be so much about me, me, me. Perhaps in nature, compassion exists, and profoundly so, and it is aching to reach out before, just like what's happening in Hollywood right now, you know, this sort of enveloping itself before this happens, you know. Life is so beautiful, and to embrace each and every precious moment. You know, their stories are so important, and I believe that the breakdown of the American family has been huge, but also this computer entitlement, the lost, you know, and what will bring them home is to know how important they are. And nature. When we are at Camp Rainbow Gold helping these kids with cancer, and supporting Swiftshire Ranch that provides the horses, you know, these kids with this dis-ease become whole. You know, we are brought up in school. When we were kids, we were brought up in school saying, "Oh, you know, the brain is like so magnificent," and it is. And then they show you the anatomy of the horse, and they say, "Oh, look how little the brain is." So they're very stupid. But then you look at the anatomy another time, and you see the heart, and the heart of a horse is so gigantic. There is great wisdom in nature and in all those things that are pure. And you are so insightful to bring this up, because it is, you know, I mean, in doing 10 and being out in nature, I mean, in Iceland, the sands are black, so we'll be working with white. But it is all about getting outside and into nature, these, you know, and having things grow because of it, you know. And you know, we continue to look for young persons, you know, to join us, you know, because there's only so much we can live now, but still to remind them of how powerful they are.
Oh, thank you, my dear friend. Thanks for that extra question.
Thank you, because, you know, that is so critical. It just is, because nature is, you know, when you feel a breeze upon your face and you are wide awake, you know that that is a kiss of the love of God.
Yeah.
Or it's an omen, or it's a runner of sorts. That's reminding you of something very powerful within you. And it's not just young people's. I mean, it's never too late to dream a new dream.
Ever.
Ever.
Ever. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you for your time. This was fun.
I could just sit here all day
Me
because
too.
I love
I
being
could
with
too.
you.
I love being with you.